Once upon a time, long before the face tattoos and the sold-out arenas, there was just a boy named Austin Richard Post. He was born in Syracuse, New York on a very special day, the 4th of July. His family moved to Grapevine, Texas when he was 9, after his father got a job with the Dallas Cowboys. This new place, this big state of Texas, would become a huge part of his story. It was here that Austin started to find himself. He wasn't the loudest kid in the room. He was a bit of a dreamer, a quiet observer with a big heart and an even bigger imagination. Music was his constant companion, a friend that was always there for him. His dad, Rich Post, was a DJ in his younger days. He introduced Austin to all kinds of sounds. They listened to hip-hop, country, rock, and everything in between. This musical melting pot shaped Austin's young mind. He picked up the guitar, inspired by video games like Guitar Hero. He taught himself how to play, spending hours in his room, his fingers tracing the frets, learning the chords that would one day change his life forever. Every big dream needs a big move. For Austin, that move was to Los Angeles. He dropped out of college after only a few months, packed his bags, and headed west with his best friend. LA was a city of dreams, but it was also a city of broken hearts. Austin found himself living in a closet in a friend's house, with barely enough money for instant noodles. This was the SoundCloud era, a time when artists could upload their music directly to the people, bypassing the traditional gatekeepers of the music industry. He spent his days and nights in a small makeshift studio. He was relentless. He worked tirelessly, honing his craft. He was searching for that one song that could change everything. Then, it happened. In February 2015, he wrote and recorded a song in just 2 days. It was a dreamy, hypnotic track with a melody that stuck in your head. He called it White Iverson. He uploaded the song to his SoundCloud account late one night, not thinking much of it. He woke up the next morning to a world that had completely changed. The song had exploded. It was a viral wildfire. People were sharing it, tweeting about it, and playing it everywhere. The success of White Iverson was a double-edged sword. On one hand, it was the breakthrough he had dreamed of. The world was finally listening. He signed a record deal with Republic Records, a major step that validated all his hard work and sacrifice. But on the other hand, the pressure was immense. Many people saw him as a one-hit wonder. They dismissed White Iverson as a fluke, a lucky break that couldn't be repeated. He had to prove that he was more than just one song. He went on tour with Justin Bieber, an experience that put him in front of massive arena crowds every single night. It was a trial by fire. He had to win over thousands of new fans who had no idea who he was. Some nights were tough. He faced boos and skepticism, but he kept going. He performed with all the heart and energy he could muster. He was learning how to be a performer, how to command a stage, and how to connect with an audience on a massive scale. He was no longer just a viral sensation. He was becoming a genuine superstar. After the whirlwind success of White Iverson and the intense pressure that followed, the next logical step was a full-length album. This project would be his definitive statement. The making of his debut album, titled Stoney, was an emotional roller coaster. It was a long and often difficult process, filled with delays and creative struggles. He wanted it to be perfect. He wanted every song to tell a piece of his story, to capture the feelings of hope, confusion, and ambition that defined his life at that moment. The album, finally released in December 2016, was a raw and honest reflection of his journey. You could hear the loneliness of life on the road in tracks like Feeling Whitney, a beautiful, stripped-down acoustic song that showcased his vulnerability. You could feel the joy and disbelief of his newfound success in anthems like Congratulations. The album was a mix of moods and sounds, blending hip-hop beats with rock melodies and folk-inspired storytelling. It was uniquely post-Malone. Stoney was not an instant critical darling. Some reviewers were still unsure what to make of him. But for fans, the album was a masterpiece. It was relatable. It was real. Songs like I Fall Apart became anthems for anyone who had ever experienced a painful heartbreak. The album had a slow burn. It didn't explode onto the charts, but it stayed there, week after week, month after month, as more and more people discovered its emotional depth. Ultimately, Stoney achieved incredible success. proving that Post Malone was not a one-hit wonder. If Stoney was the introduction, his second album, Beerbongs and Bentleys, was the coronation. By the time it was released in 2018, Post Malone was no longer an underdog. He was a certified global superstar. The expectations were, honestly, sky high. He responded by delivering an album that was bigger, bolder, and even more successful than its predecessor. It shattered streaming records on its first day and debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 chart. The title itself seemed to capture the wild, surreal nature of his new life. On the surface, Beerbongs and Bentleys sounded like the ultimate party album. The Bentleys were real, and the parties were legendary. But if you listened closer, beneath the braggadocio and the booming 808s, there was a deep undercurrent of sadness and anxiety. The album was not just a celebration of fame, it was also a critique of it. He explored the dark side of the rockstar lifestyle, the feeling of not knowing who to trust, and the emptiness that can linger even when you have everything you thought you wanted. After conquering the world with 2 blockbuster albums, Post Malone could have easily played it safe. Instead, he took a creative left turn with his third album, Hollywood's Bleeding, released in 2019. This was his most ambitious and emotionally raw project to date. The title itself suggested a darker, more introspective journey. It was a commentary on the toxic and often soul-crushing nature of fame. The sound of the album was a stunning fusion of all his influences. It was a genre-bending masterpiece that defied easy categorization. There were trap beats, pop-punk guitars, dreamy synth-pop, and even a collaboration with the legendary Ozzy Osbourne. The lead single, Circles, became one of the biggest songs of his career. It was a deceptively upbeat pop song about a relationship trapped in a toxic, repetitive loop. The catchy melody masked a profound sense of sadness and resignation. Other songs painted a grim picture of Los Angeles as a place where dreams go to die. Hollywood's Bleeding was a massive critical and commercial success. It proved that Post Malone was not just a hitmaker, but a true artist with a unique vision willing to take risks and push boundaries. One of the most recognizable things about Post Malone is his look. The face tattoos, the eclectic fashion choices, and the laid-back, friendly demeanor all combine to create a style that is completely his own. His fashion sense is just as eclectic and personal as his tattoos. He effortlessly mixes high fashion with casual streetwear, country western flair with rock and roll edge. He doesn't follow trends, he creates his own. Ultimately, Post Malone's style is all about authenticity. He is unapologetically himself, and that resonates deeply with people. The man behind the tattoos is not a scary rock star. He's a friendly, down-to-earth guy who just happens to be one of the biggest musicians in the world. His story is a source of incredible inspiration. It's a reminder that you don't have to be the coolest person in the room or have the most traditional path to success. His success sends a clear message to every kid who feels like an outcast. Your differences are your superpowers. The connection he has with his fans is profound. They don't just love his music, they love him. When he's on stage, he's not just performing, he's sharing a piece of his soul. The legacy of Post Malone is still being written, but his impact is already clear. He has reshaped the sound of popular music, breaking down the walls between genres. But more importantly, he has become a beacon of hope. His journey from a bedroom in Grapevine to stadiums around the world is a testament to the power of passion, perseverance, and authenticity. He teaches us that it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be different, and it's always, always okay to be exactly who you are. And that is a message that will echo for generations to come.